Hi everyone, it's AJ from Auctor's Video, and I'm just going to do a quick look, first impressions video on this, the UNI-T UT802 Benchtop Multimeter. So this is the UNI-T UT802. I've seen a few video reviews of some of the other models in this series. I haven't actually seen one for this, which is why I wanted to do this. The price of these seems to vary wildly. I got this one for about 50 quid brand new from eBay. You can pay upwards of nearly $200 for them if you don't shop around, so it's definitely worth having a look at the different prices that are available. This particular one came with the European style plug, 9-volt adapter. It's just a standard 9-volt adapter, so that's easily fixed. We'll just plug that in. And have a look at the actual unit itself. All the probes and everything else comes in this little tiny, let's show you the outside first, so there we are, and a simple 9-volt in at the back. You can also power on batteries. I'm not quite sure where you would do that for a bench meter really. It's nice and light, possibly too light for a bench meter. It doesn't feel amazingly high quality, but you know, certainly for a £50 meter, it's pretty impressive. Just need a coin to go in the top here to open this little cubby hole. The plastic is quite soft. I'd be a little worried about that marring over time. Again, probably not too worried about that. In terms of what comes with it, you have one of these, which is for testing transistors, a thermocouple, and a couple of these wires for clamping, and some probes. Now the probes aren't fantastic. I mean, I guess you get what you pay for. They claim, I don't know if you can see that, but they claim to be 600 volt Cat 4 at 10 amp and a kilovolt at Cat 3. I wouldn't fancy using these in Cat 3 or 4 situations, frankly. There's no shielding on the probe. If I compare it to a Fluke one here, it's a genuine Fluke probe. This is Cat 2 at 1000 volts, which you see in a very similar configuration. If I want to use it at Cat 3 or 4, not that I do personally, but if you did want to do that, you can see it's got this shrouding that comes down. So I personally, these are fine for electronic stuff, low voltages. I wouldn't use them for high voltages. The wires are a little plasticky, you get what you pay for. You're not going to get fantastic quality stuff at a cheap price point. In terms of the inside, as you can see, there's another one of these coin opening things here. I'll just quickly do that so you can see. That lets you put some C-cell batteries, I think they are, to power it. I don't really get why you would want to run a bench meter on batteries. I guess you might. And there's some fuses in there, again, a little flap to get in there, so that's quite nice. In terms of the operation of the meter, let's just plug it in so you can have a look. It is just a 9-volt operation, so that's nice and easy. We've got a power button at the end, and it is a 20,000 count meter, so that's quite nice actually, and that's one of the reasons why I picked this up. Really, I was looking for something that would do some quite high precision, low current measurements. Now, as you saw there, I do have access to a Fluke, but I just kind of wanted to have really have a look at what kind of bench meter you could get for this £50 price point. We'll do a very quick run through of a couple of things today. I want to come back and do a slightly more detailed video in the future to look at a little bit more of a measurement in terms of how it squares up against the closest things, so we can do some referencing here today. Anyway, so we've got the meter display. It's got a light little toggle button on there. The buttons are a bit wobbly, but again, you don't care really too much about that. It's got a hold button, not especially useful. It doesn't have any kind of rel button, so you can't do a delta measurement, you can't cancel out any resistance in the probes or anything like that. There's no min-max on this one. Lots of extra features at the higher range, higher spec meters, but this is the 802. Now, I've seen a variety of videos, as I say, for some of the other models in the range. The 801, which is a smaller one with a lower precision count, and the 803, which is an auto ranging one. One of the criticisms of that was the auto ranging is really slow. Frankly, any auto ranging is slow in my experience, even on a really high end fluke or a proper big bench power meter. So this one's manual, so that's probably easier. And to be honest, it's not really a big deal just to click a knob. This main rotor here feels reasonably robust. It doesn't feel like it's going to break in 5 minutes, so that's quite nice. The display is nice and big and clear, and I guess really the kind of three reasons that you would get a meter like this, a bench meter. One, if you want to do some kind of long running measurement, although in this case that doesn't really make sense because it doesn't have any logging, doesn't have any output, so it's not really ideally suited for that. You might just want it because it's a nice big display so you can read it easily while you're kind of doing some measurements, which this certainly seems to provide. And also, you kind of typically think of a bench meter for sort of precision measurements. We'll see in due course actually how precise the measurements are. But we'll just do a very quick look at a couple of things today. In terms of the inputs, you've got the standard kinds of things on the front there that you'd expect to see. Nothing terribly exciting. And as I say, it's a 20,000 count meter, so whatever range you select, essentially that's giving you 2 as the largest digit, and then the appropriate number of decimal places beyond that. So for me, what I'm interested in is relatively small voltages and current measurements. As I say, doing a lot of stuff with microcontrollers and things like that. So we can do a 200 millivolt range, which is quite nice for voltages. The next one up is 2 volts, which of course is slightly too low. This is where a meter with a slightly different range would be better, but if you're measuring 5 volts, you just simply click over to the 20 volt range, and you can see it's still giving us quite a lot of decimal places, probably more decimal places than is strictly meaningful in that kind of a measurement. So let's just have a quick look at that. We'll plug it in. I'll just reach across and grab a couple of wires from my bench power supply. So this is adjusted to about 5 volts. And tried to dial that in too precisely. Hopefully you can see the meter there, and if I just stick the probes onto there, you can see we're getting about 5 volts with 3 decimal places. I mean, to be honest, that's good enough for pretty much anything you might want to be doing for voltage. I said I'll do a proper comparison later on, but just by a quick comparison, if I grab the fluke and we do exactly the same measurement, excuse me, reaching across the camera there, and we will see we're getting 5088 compared to, obviously there's some differences in the leads and things like that, but 50856. So in terms of significant figures, it's pretty close for that kind of measurement. As I say, primarily I'm interested in this for measuring current, for power consumption stuff. So if we have a look at the amps range, DC amps, you can see all the way around here, we start at 200 microamps and then run all the way up to 10 amps. Frankly, I wouldn't fancy putting 10 amps through these cables, but certainly anything less than that would be absolutely fine. And it's got AC amps as well if you're interested in that. It's also got DC voltages, of course, and AC voltages. It's got capacitance. We'll have a look at that later on. It's got a frequency measurement, 200 kilohertz and 2 kilohertz. I've no idea how good that is. It's probably not going to be fantastic, but we can certainly have a look at that. Resistance, as you would expect, from 200 meg ohms all the way down to 200 ohms. Again, for the kind of precision you might be interested in, for a meter like this, it's pretty good. If you are really interested in precision measurements of resistance, of course, you'd probably want a 4-wire setup anyway, but it's okay, it's acceptable. In terms of diode measurement and continuity, it does have the nastiest, scratchiest continuity beeper of all time. That's just horrible. So I certainly wouldn't use it to beep out any kind of continuity test or anything. But again, I'm kind of a bit spoilt with the Fluke, which is just so much better on that ground. And then we've also got temperature in Celsius and the measurements for the diode, for the transistor, which we talked about with this adapter. So anyway, very quick kind of introduction there. Just give you a very quick taste of this. As I say, I'll try and do a follow-up video where I actually do some proper current measurements and kind of using the Fluke as a reference standard to sort of see what the accuracy really looks like. In terms of build quality, this is pretty nice. In terms of the kind of range of things that it does, it's okay. For a £50 Benchmeter, I'm very happy with it so far. I haven't done that detailed measurement comparison yet, so we'll see, kind of reserve judgment until I have. But if you're going to pay $200 for this, I'm not sure it's a great buy. If you can get it for £50–60 like I did, then I would say it probably is a pretty good buy, particularly if you are a sort of hobbyist and you just want to have something to have in a home lab like this. Okay, well anyway, hope that's been useful. If you like the video, do click like. If you have any questions or anything specifically you'd like me to have a go at measuring in the follow-up video, then do leave a comment below. And I will do my best to try and do that as well. So see you next time.